Hello again, and welcome to another maths venture. We're looking at negative bases. So when you have an exponent and the bottom number could be negative, there's a minus sign in there, and you're raising it to a power, like you're squaring it or you're cubing it. How does that work? Is the answer going to be positive or negative? Well, what we do is we look at BEDMAS. You remember BEDMAS? We do the brackets, and then the exponents, and then division, multiplication, and addition and subtraction. So the exponents here are really high up, really important. Second only to brackets. So exponents are really tightly grouped. So when I have this squared here, it's really tightly grouped to the thing to the left of it. The thing immediately to the left of it. So do you think that I'm going to square just the 4 or the whole negative 4? The squared applies only to the 4. It is just the 4 that is being squared. When I say squared, I mean multiplied by itself. So I need to ignore that minus sign for a bit and just focus on 4 squared. 4 squared means 4 times 4. And then let's pop the negative sign back in. So I replace the 4 squared with what 4 squared means, ignoring the minus sign because I'm not dealing with that yet. 4 squared is 4 times 4. Okay, and then we can pop the minus sign back in because I shouldn't forget about that. It is still there. So now 4 times 4 in the brackets, because that's the first thing we're doing, we can figure that out. 4 times 4 is 16. And then that minus sign I can copy down. So it is minus 16. So you notice that the squared only applies to the 4. It's the 4 that is getting multiplied by itself. This one, though, is a little bit different. It says to figure out what's in the brackets, but just says minus 4. What do we do with that? The exponent, though, the exponent applies to the thing just before it, which is this whole group. Brackets are what we use for grouping things together to show that the squared applies not just to the thing just before it here, but this squared applies to this whole group, because this is the thing, this group that is just before it. So the squared actually applies to the minus 4. It's minus 4 that we have to write twice. So write minus 4 and then write it again and put a times sign between it because that's what it's meant to square. So the squared applies to that whole group, and that's why I wrote that whole group twice. Whereas here, the squared only applies to the 4 because I didn't put a group around the minus and the 4. Let that sink in for a little bit. The difference between this and this, I wrote the minus 4 twice, but here I just wrote the 4 twice. All right, once we've got this far, it's not too bad to figure out the rest. I have a negative times a negative, which is a positive, and 4 times 4, which is 16. Positive 16, which we can just write as 16. Okay, so that one's negative, and this one's positive. Let's try cubed. Same kind of deal, right? The cubed applies to the thing just before it, so we ignore the minus sign for now. Because the 3 only apply, the cubed, the power, only applies to the thing just before it, which is the 2. So it is the 2 that I have to write 3 times with times signs between it. And the minus I just copied down. I put these brackets in to help me remember that I'm dealing with this part, but this would actually work the same without the brackets. Okay, well now 2 times 2 is 4 times 2, which is 8. I've done the brackets first because they're on the inside. So I have negative 8. Okay, so the cubed only applies to the thing, just like the squared, it only applies to the thing just before it. Here, the thing just before it is a group. It's the whole minus 2. So I need to write the whole minus 2 thing 3 times with multiplied signs between them. Minus 2 times minus 2 times minus 2. I write the whole group 3 times. Well, now we can figure it out. Negative 2 times negative 2. Negative times negative is positive. 2 times 2 is 4. I always do in my head the sign, plus or minus, and the number part separately. Negative times negative is positive. 2 times 2 is 4. This times minus 2, I haven't figured that out yet, so let's just copy that down. So I don't forget it. Very important to copy the thing down, except for the parts you're changing. Okay, well now I've got positive times negative, which is negative, 4 times 2, which is 8. Negative 8. Brill! Absolutely brill. The important thing to remember here, of course, is that the brackets are used for grouping and the power applies to the thing just before it. That's why here the power just applied to the 4. It's the 4 that we squared. And here it was the minus 4. All right, good luck to practice these questions. You want to try probably the first question in exercise 2A.2. Until next time, see ya.